Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I'm Maria Casillas, joined here by my incredible co-host, Cody Sizemore, and we are excited to bring another episode to you this week. Funny to say, this episode actually came from our Facebook group, which we want to remind you that if you have not yet joined, please consider doing that. The name of that group is the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits, and we'd love to have you answer just a few quick questions. Join us right in there, and you too can see some of the stuff that's being posted there. This is not a question from somebody who is in there. This is actually something that, Cody, I saw you post. It was a little while ago. I think I kind of made a mental note of it and thought this is something that I believe our listeners are going to want to be able to kind of peek in on a little bit more detail. So if with your permission, by the way, how are you? You doing okay today?
I'm doing just dandy.
Okay, good. Very good. So with your permission, Cody, I'd like to talk about this again. And I know you don't really know what we're talking about yet, and I don't know all the details, but I have a feeling that as soon as I remind you a little bit about the scenario, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally remember that. So what I remember seeing was that this person who I think you were prospecting at the time was just totally rude to you in his response to your reaching out. Is that so? Yeah. You're nodding your head, so that means like you totally know what I'm talking about. Okay, So this obviously doesn't happen all the time to you if it's kind of an isolated incident.
That's correct.
Okay,
in fact,
good.
This may be the only time it's happened. Maybe one other time, but yeah, it rarely happens.
Okay. Well, that's actually good because it's probably going to be uncomfortable. Maybe you were uncomfortable. Maybe you weren't. I don't know. But for our listeners who maybe are a little bit newer to some of this prospecting, or maybe they are actually quite seasoned and still when it kind of comes to that yucky feeling of somebody being rejected, they're not loving that. So it's good to know that this doesn't happen super often. But do set it up for us a little bit, Cody. Tell us what was the conversation started by and what was he so upset about?
Yeah, so I mean it's pretty simple. I run Facebook ads and and I've talked about that before on this show, but basically like those Facebook ads, what they are is like, it's just an ad, and then if someone clicks on the ad, they can sign up for a free webinar. It's like a 45-minute webinar. And I, give them some value, and then, there's a call to action at the end of it to book a call if they'd like. But when they initially sign up for the webinar, they give me a few pieces of information. So they give me their name, their phone, their email, and their phone number. And I usually wait like a day or two after someone signs up to then reach out to them via text and just say something along the lines of like, hey, like I saw you signed up, for this webinar, just, is that right? I just want to make sure that you got everything okay, blah, blah, blah. And that's how the whole conversation started. And it went very downhill, very quickly.
Okay. So before you tell us the downhill, I just want to clarify, it's not an ad where somebody clicks on the ad and then because you saw them click on the ad, you're starting to hound them via private messenger or something. They had to physically click on it and provide this other information indicating some level of interest in what it was you were offering.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Important note there.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you were bringing this conversation up, I actually pulled up that post that you were talking about. And I think that probably what would be best is if I just I can just read this conversation to to the listeners, so you understand like the whole context, and then we can kind of talk about it. Does that sound okay with you?
Sure thing.
Okay. So this person that I,
followed up with?
Yes, followed up with. When they've signed up, they put in their name, their phone number, their email, and their name was JJ blank. So I'm not going to give the last name, but it was JJ blank, right?
But it was provided for you.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I waited like a day or so, and I shot them a message via text because, again, they gave me their phone number. So I said, hey, JJ, it's Cody with Sizemore Financial Coaching. I saw you signed up for my training on 5 shifts to rapidly eliminate your debt and amplify your wealth yesterday. Was that right? And that was it. That's all I sent. Just want to make sure, right? And then they responded and they said, my name is not JJ. If you can't get my name right, then leave me the F alone. And I'm being censored here. They definitely spelled out the whole word. Okay. So leave me the F alone! Exclamation point.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, whoa. Like, what is going on here? So I like when I got that message, I like went back and I was like, did I get the name wrong or something? So I went back and I looked at everything, and no, that was the name that they had provided me with. So
Wow.
I sent them another message, and I said the following. I said, well, actually, let me pull it up here real quick. I said, whoa. Literally started off with just saying, whoa. So I said, whoa. So first off, I apologize for having your name wrong, but I got an email that said JJ blank. So if that's incorrect, I do apologize about that, but I was just going off of what I had. LOL. Secondly, I just wanted to reach out to make sure that you got everything okay, and also see if there was anything else that you had questions on, or that I could send you to help you out a bit more. But hey, if you're not interested in that because I had your name wrong, that's okay. And then they responded back to me, or no. And then I even like went back and I took a screenshot of the email that I got with the information that they put in. And I said, here's your name, here's your email, here's your phone number. And I sent them that screenshot and I said, here's this just so you can see what I saw. Enjoy your day. And then they responded back to me and they said, nice not talking to you, period. To which at that point I was like, okay, this person's a lost cause. So I just loved that message that they sent. It's just like a little passive aggressive troll because that's how I am. So
And
that
it
was the
ended
whole
there?
conversation. It was pretty short, but definitely wild. Definitely wild.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so a couple things that jumped out, and I'm really glad that you read it back because I remembered having seen it, but admittedly did not remember what about it caught my attention so quickly. And I think it was that initial, like, just pure hatred, I guess is probably the best word I can come up with. That was just like, just shot out through daggered eyes is kind of what I would imagine that looks like. And I think what's so interesting about that, now granted, we are inundated with people trying to, give us ads and try to give us free stuff and, sign up for this and I'll give you that and all of that. So what's really interesting to me is this person has completely brought it up upon him or herself. We don't even know really who this person is.
Yeah.
But this JJ individual maybe is Jeannie and maybe is Johnny and just got so tired of giving people real information that they just typed this in. Now, this is, I think, equivalent to giving somebody the wrong phone number. And you know what? Maybe that happened. That's another thing we have to kind of consider is that maybe an actual JJ gave a phone number, but maybe transposed the numbers or something like that, right?
It's possible. Or maybe their name was Jay and they just put J and then like spaced out for a second and put J again.
Maybe. So I'm gonna give this person the benefit of the doubt. This just came to my mind. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that this person happened to be some random, Rebecca. I don't know who it is. And JJ, the real JJ, typed in a number incorrectly and accidentally gave you Rebecca's number. I'm going to go with that for just a second. Okay. I know I see the look on your face. Those who are listening, Cody's looking at me like you're being far too gracious. But let's just say for a second that that's what happened. Even if that's the case, if I am erroneously solicited, that kind of sounds bad, but if I'm erroneously solicited by somebody, I'm either going to ignore them or just say, I think there's been a mistake. please don't contact me any longer.
Yep.
So, I mean, this person didn't have to be as rude as they were, whether or not they were the person who signed up for this thing. So I just think maybe there's a real JJ out there somewhere who really is missing out. Like they gave you they've got like dyslexia of numbers and they gave you the wrong phone number.
Yeah.
Maybe not. You're not convinced.
I'm gonna step in here and I'm gonna say that this was the person who signed up.
Okay. All right. You must know something I don't know.
It's just the way that they responded to the initial message.
Gotcha.
They didn't say anything about how they didn't sign up. They didn't say who is this. They didn't say what is this. They just said this is not my name.
The name.
If you can't get it right, then leave me alone. Leave me the F alone.
Yeah. You're right. I could see that.
Yeah. So this person is just, for whatever reasons, maybe just very self-conscious about their name.
Maybe.
Or maybe, they are just really unhappy with how life is going. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of things could happen in this scenario, right?
Yeah. Maybe someone peed in their Cheerios for breakfast this morning.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know people's situations and what they have going on. But hey, maybe that's why I reached out, to figure that out and to try and help. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my hunch.
Well, I mean, we could sit and, muse about what this person's life was like and why they reacted the way that they did. We could do that all day long.
Sure.
But I think what our listeners really need to know is that this happens. Thankfully, it doesn't happen super duper often, because there are some patient people in the world who would be like, yeah, that was just a mistake, or however they would have addressed that. But I just want to say how impressed I am that you didn't just like pull back and go, whoops, guess we don't need to talk to him. That you actually did kind of say, look, this is why I'm reaching out. It's not some random cold call. I know you didn't call him, but it's like something I'm actually responding to. And it didn't lead to anything that was, profitable, but it kept you in integrity. And I just wanted to say, I think that's really important.
Yeah. And I agree. We could talk about why this person responded this way all day. We could definitely do that. But I do think that it's more important to talk about what you're going on. Which is like, hey, like I responded the way that I did, and I reached out the way I did for reasons, So like the first reasons to why I reached out is because, number one, like someone signed up for this, so clearly they have something going on that they are not very happy with, and they want to improve. And hey, with this topic of life, such as money, sometimes it's kind of like it's personal, it's intimate, it's people feel shame around it, they're embarrassed around it.
It's triggering, sometimes for lack of a better word.
Just putting that best foot forward and reaching out to them. People appreciate it. I've actually had several people tell me, they didn't sign up for a call initially, but then I'll shoot them that message. I'll talk to them a little bit. And I've had several people thank me for reaching out and continuing to follow up, because they said, hey, at first, I really didn't want to respond because of this or that, but I appreciate you reaching out. Right. I've had several people say that to me. So that was the intention behind it. I mean, obviously, it'd be great if this person became a client. Well, I mean, not this person specifically, but anyone in general, if they became a client. I mean, and obviously that's, some level of what's the word I'm looking for? Intention of why I reached out, of course. But the main reason is just to support this person, because they signed up for a reason. And, in response to how I responded, I'm not the type of person to reach out with a supportive and loving heart to then be met with basically just flat out disrespect and just be okay with that. I'm not okay with that. I'm not. I don't care if it's someone that I've never talked to or if someone I've known for 10 years. If someone disrespects me in any way, they're not going to get off the hook with it. So, I could have went in on this person. I don't know if it's a guy or not. I have a feeling it's a guy, but I could have went in, but I restrained myself a little bit, and I was like, remain professional, but also make sure that you get your point across. And that's something I live by. That there's a Theodore Roosevelt quote. It's called "Speak softly and carry a big stick." Right. And that's basically what I did. I just said, hey, listen, I'm going to speak softly here, and I'm going to apologize for getting your name wrong. But I'm also going to double down and say, hey, this is not on me. This is what you provided me. So just so you know, this is how it went. And then they responded back with that nice not talking to you. So then I was like, I'll be a little bit petty and I'll just love his message. Just so he gets that notification that I did love it, but I'm not going to say anything more. So it's a little bit petty there. But that's my point, is like, we should always remain professional, but we should also stand with the values and the standards that we set for ourselves. Like, we don't want to have people walk all over us simply because we're looking for another client or whatever it might be. It should never be about that. It should always be about wanting to help people first. And if they appreciate that help, great. And if they don't appreciate that help, no problem. But stay true to yourself. And that's what I did in this scenario here. So I think that's one of the things that's really important to me. There's another thing I want to say too, but I want to allow you to respond.
Oh, I was just going to say, you knew when to stop, when to walk away.
Yeah.
And, yes, you did, just in jest give the passive aggressive love emotion to the last comment, but you still were able to walk away from that and know that you could put your pride aside and not worry about having the last word physically. And so that's important too, to know when to just say it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Immediately after the first message, I knew that I didn't want to,
engage
bring this person on as a client or anything like that. But I wanted to at least just have the opportunity to explain myself. I felt that was necessary. And once I did, and they still didn't like what I had to say, then I was like, all right, cool, whatever, dude. And I moved on, So, I think that's a really important thing. But I think another thing that I want to say about this too is that, like, I think that messages and interactions like this are the exact reason as to why people are afraid to send messages out to people, right? And I just want to be the person to say, and I think we even talked about this recently on an episode. I talk to and I reach out to a lot of people. A lot of people. It's probably like 30 or 40 people a day, kind of thing. And for the last 4 years. And I can tell you that, you do the math, 30 to 40 people a day for 4 years. Do the math on how many people that is. And I can tell you that probably only one time, maybe two, this has happened. This rarely happens, guys. This rarely happens. So I'm telling you this story because I want to be transparent that, like, yes, this does happen sometimes, but man, oh man, is it rare. And even if it does happen, cool. Like, they did you a favor. They're not your ideal client. They're not someone who wants to work with you, and they're not someone that you want to work with. So they did you a favor. Move on. Talk to the next person, and help the next person who really, really wants it.
So I did do the math for you.
Okay.
But I rounded down, made math a little bit easier. We're just gonna assume that there were days off,
Sure.
I did 20 people per day, and I did times 300 days rather than 365, just to give you some vacation time. And did that times 4 years. And so that was 24,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you get this, 1 in 24,000, heck, even if you got it 10 in 24,000,
it's a pretty good ratio.
It's a pretty good ratio. So we want to make sure that you hear that loud and clear today, that you don't let that be the thing that stops you from hopping on. And you're not offending anybody who wouldn't have been offended by a fly landing on his leg. That's just this particular scenario. I think that's what I'm getting out of this, is there might be somebody who's offended by what you're going to say, but with this type of visceral reaction, it meant that he would have been offended by anything that day. So it wasn't you.
Yeah. And hey, JJ, if you're listening to this, no hard feelings, I wanted to help you. But like, I'm just saying, like, there was just like a line that was just kind of crossed, and whatever they have going on, I'm not going to judge or anything like that. I mean, obviously, like, this person obviously has something going on in their life that is affecting them negatively, in order for them to respond to a message like that, a helpful message like that. So, I walked away from that conversation. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty upset for like 20 minutes. But then after that, I was like, this isn't a me issue. This is something that they're dealing with, and I just have to understand that and accept that and just move on,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important for any sort of interaction that we as coaches have with any sort of prospects that we're talking to. If we were to have some sort of interaction that's negative, it's usually not because of something that we're doing, unless we're just completely being annoying to someone, which you shouldn't be. But if you feel like you're not being annoying, you feel like you're just putting your best foot forward to try and help someone, and you're being respectful with your own boundaries, then hey, like, it's more than likely something that they have going on in their own life, and maybe it's just a timing thing. Maybe they just need a little bit more time. They need to process things, and who knows? It might be better in the future for them. But in this scenario, I probably wouldn't want to bring on a client who cussed me out in their first interaction with me, first message with me. So I don't think I'll be working with this person. But I'm wishing them the best, truly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for pulling all of that information up as we were talking, because like I said, I knew that I had seen it and I wanted to be able to talk about it, but I didn't remember those details. And I think that those are super, super necessary in order to drive home what it was that actually caught my attention so quickly. So I thank you for doing that for us. I thank each and every one of you listening today for tuning in for another episode. And especially if you've listened last week and this week and all the weeks before, you're every weekers. We really appreciate you. And we just wanted to remind you to let everybody know who is working on their business, that they're trying to become a financial coach. This is one of those podcasts where they will hear the real deal. We're not going to just give you a bunch of platitudes. We're actually going to tell you what's going on behind the scenes. And this is an example of that very thing. So share this show with your friends. We appreciate you. And we look forward to another week, another episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast. See you guys then.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching. Music provided by Summer School.